we're very, very excited. Dr. Bhanote, why don't we get started? I think we have quite a few people that have joined us and more are coming in. Really just wanted to welcome everybody to the Life and Breath Foundation speaker series. The Life and Breath Foundation, my name is Sean Hall. I'm the president and founder of the foundation. We began the foundation back in 1998 in memory of my mother, Ida Hall, who passed away with sarcoidosis in 1996. I really just wanted to do something in her memory, understanding that there was other patients and families out there that were suffering, and wanted to find out and do more in her honor. We're in our 22nd year of fundraising and supporting patients with sarcoidosis. This particular year in 2020 interrupted some of our events that we host to be able to raise funds, to be able to build diagnostic tools for you. And those adjustments created the speaker series. We just wanted an opportunity to be able to share nationally recognized speakers who specialize in the treating and advising of sarcoidosis, who are leading the charge nationally to be able to present information to you. Not all of this is me. I have a gifted support committee members and volunteers that make up most of the important aspects of the foundation. Through registration, we have received many of your questions. We hope to cover those materials throughout the presentation, but we will leave some Q&A at the end. So a little bit about the Life and Breath Foundation and our primary goals: to offer sarcoidosis community effective tools to track their journey, decipher medical issues, and maximize their quality of life; to provide a nurturing event for those affected by sarcoidosis to share their experiences; and to build more awareness within the medical community to help combat this chronic disease. You can find more information about the foundation at the website below. But at this time, I'd like to introduce our speaker, and she'll be talking about the nutrition for health and fundamentals of healthy eating. We're happy to have Dr. Monisha Bhanote, who is the founder and CEO of the Integrated Medicine and Wellbeing. She's a triple board certified physician with expertise in integrative medicine and anatomic clinical pathology. She serves as a clinician, author, well-being expert, researcher, culinary medicine chef, yoga teacher, and mindfulness facilitator. Dr. Benott is passionate about empowering patients to take control of their well-being. She believes the body has an innate capacity to heal, and her goal is to improve the health and wellness of individuals by providing a framework for personalized knowledge of their individual biochemistry. She has published numerous peer review articles and has been featured in publications such as Shape Magazine, Mind Body Green, Martha Stewart Living, Hop Sugar, Bustle, Health Central, Insider, Prevention Magazine, and Healthline. Without further ado, I am proud to welcome Dr. Benott to the Life and Breath Foundation Speaker Series.
Thank you, Sean, for this very warm welcome, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you some information about nutrition and really where you can get started if you're having a challenge with what should I eat, especially with the number of different diets and information out there. It can be a little tricky to figure out what's best to suit you. So once again, thank you to the Life and Breath Foundation for having me here to share this topic, which is, you know, for me, I feel like it's one of the main pillars of health, to really have a good foundation and really know what you're putting into your body. So let's get started with that. So really, what is a nutrition? When we're thinking about nutrition, what is actually happening? So nutrition is the science that interprets the actual nutrients and other substances in food that's related to the bodily processes such as growth, reproduction, health, and disease. It includes both food intake, the absorption of the food, assimilation, biosynthesis, catabolism, and the excretion process. The macronutrients, when we think about food, most people are well aware of carbohydrates, protein, and fat. So those are considered your macronutrients. The other thing to also be concerned about when you're thinking about what food you're putting into your body is also the micronutrient component of foods, which includes vitamins and minerals. The other aspect is also what kind of foods contain fiber, and then also water content. So these are all the basics of nutrition that when we look at a food product, we need to have an idea of how many carbs, protein, vitamins, what actually is it doing to nourish our body so we can grow, we can maintain our health, and we can prevent disease. So with the macronutrients that we're familiar with, carbohydrates in general should comprise about 45 to 65% of calories. Why do we need carbohydrates? Because they are our main source of providing energy. They regulate fat and protein metabolism, and they're also important for our cardiovascular and nervous system functioning. So for people who go on a low carb diet to lose weight, well, they're actually missing out on some of the things that they need to produce ATP, which is produced from carbohydrates, to produce our energy. So protein, in fact, should only be comprised about 10 to 35% of your total calorie intake. And protein is necessary for supporting tissue building and for wound healing. When we look at protein, we also look at which ones are complete proteins and which ones are incomplete proteins. Complete proteins generally do come from animal sources. However, you can find them in non-animal sources such as soy and quinoa. Quinoa is a grain we will talk about a little bit later, which actually has all 9 essential amino acids. Now, incomplete proteins means that it does not have all 9 amino acids, but what can happen is you can combine different proteins to have all 9 amino acids. And a prime example of that is a meal of rice and beans. With rice and beans, you'll actually get all 9 amino acids that you need to build tissue and for wound healing. And then our last major macronutrient when we consider is fat. So that should be about 20 to 35% of our calorie intake. And why do we want fat? We want it so it can store our energy. It's also responsible for hormone production and absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. So for people who are also on a low-fat diet, they might not be absorbing all the vitamins that they need to absorb. There's specifically vitamin D, E, A, and K require fat in order to be absorbed. They are the fat-soluble vitamins. So then the question comes to, what is the best diet? That is really the mystery question, I must say. So I'm just curious, does anybody have any thoughts? You want to put something in your in the Q&A to give me an idea of what you're thinking is the best diet? Let's see, anybody have any ideas? All right, we've got a few answers there. We've got, let's see, we've got somebody's following, Deanna follows forks over knives plus fish, that's great. Tulip Girls following the anti-inflammatory diet, that's wonderful. Anybody else have a specific diet that they follow that they want to share? All right, well, let's get started on what is the best diet. The question mark still remains, but I can tell you what is not the best diet and what is known as the SAD diet. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with that terminology, but that actually stands for the Standard American Diet. So before we get into what we should really be eating, I want to address what is the Standard American Diet. And there's a reason I want to address that. So when we look at the Standard American Diet, I want you guys to, put a little wave if this has been we are now in Thursday. If you have eaten any of these things this week, put a little wave in and let me know if any of these have been part of your meal. We've got pizza, we've got some pasta, we've got a nice bacon double cheeseburger there. We've got those hot dogs. We love our hot dogs. And the classic Caesar salad. So has anybody eaten this at all this week? And I'm looking over and I am seeing a number of waves. Yes, yes, yes. People are eating this. Well, this is, it is, you know, readily available, and it is our standard American diet. Now, the thing about the standard American diet, that means that 3/4 of Americans are actually not eating a single piece of fruit in a given day. 9 out of 10 Americans don't even reach their minimum of recommended daily intake of vegetables. So now, if you look at this, is there that many vegetables on here? You know, there's some lettuce here, some romaine, not the dark leafy greens that we're going to talk about, but I don't know, maybe there's a little green here, not too many vegetables. Potatoes, okay. So if you think about potatoes, potatoes are probably the main vegetable that people eat. And when they eat them in the form of French fries. So 98% of Americans also don't meet their minimum requirement of orange vegetables, which is really only 2 servings a week. So, and they're also not meeting, 99% do not meet the minimum whole grains, which is only 3 or 4 ounces a day. So what really are we eating? Are we really eating food here? Are we really eating nutrients? What are we actually doing here? So the standard American diet, 63% of American calories come from refined and processed foods. So what are they? They're the packaged snacks, potato chips, crackers, packaged desserts, soft drinks, packaged frozen meals. And then 25% of calories come from animal-based foods, which animal-based foods are high in saturated and trans fats. And then we do have 12% of our calories coming from plant-based foods, half of which are French fries. So what does that leave? That means only 6% of America's calories are coming from health-promoting fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. That is only 6%. So that means 94% of what we are putting in our body is really not doing anything to help our cells function, to help our organs function, to help our brain do what it needs to do, or help our heart. We're not doing much to really help our body. So with the standard American diet, what it does is it increases inflammation. And this is why I wanted to show you this, because the diet we eat today is the main cause of increasing inflammation in our body. And when we increase inflammation, we increase the risk of diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, osteoarthritis, reflux disease, amongst others. And we know as sarcoidosis patients, we might not know the exact etiology of what is happening, but we do understand that it is an inflammatory process. So our standard American diet contributes to more inflammation, even in that sarcoidosis process, because inflammation is inflammation. So how else can this standard American diet affect us? It's also, as I said, high in saturated fats. Those saturated fats raise cholesterol levels. It's high in sugar and white flour products, which also raise our triglyceride levels. And those processed foods also increase the risk of depression. So I don't know, if you think about it, when you eat something that, you know, you picked up from the fast food place, if you actually stop to see how you feel maybe half an hour, a couple days later, after eating that, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a few waves that say, you don't feel good. It tasted good. There's no doubt about it. It's meant to taste good. Salt, oil, and sugar all taste good. But there is inflammation happening. Also, diets high in cured and processed red meats increase the risk of cancers, specifically colon cancers. So what foods cause inflammation in the body, and what should you avoid? So that's really what we're going to get to. We're going to talk about what is pro-inflammatory and what is anti-inflammatory. And my goal here is to really show you that you will not feel deprived or hungry if you choose to eat more anti-inflammatory foods. You will have food to eat. There is plenty to eat. So let's look at the pro-inflammatory foods. So these are generally our refined oils, such as corn oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, peanut oil, soybean oil. So now when you think about going out to a restaurant, many foods are cooked in these oils. And these oils are all pro-inflammatory. Why do restaurants have these oils? Well, they can cook fast. They're cheaper. They're much cheaper to have. And because when you have a restaurant, you're producing tons and tons of food, so you're not going to get the highest quality oil. Many of your restaurants, if you're eating out, will have refined oils in them. You also cannot account for the amount of sugar that has gone into food. You know, when we go to a restaurant, food is meant to taste good. It's not necessarily meant to provide you nutrition so your organs function. It's meant to provide that satisfaction feeling. So simple carbs. So simple carbs versus complex carbs. Simple carbs, what happens in our body, if you think of simple carbs, we're thinking of white bread, bagels, white pasta. They get broken down in our body so much quicker than a complex carb, which might be a whole wheat bread or a whole wheat pasta. And when simple carbs are getting broken down that quickly, they're actually increasing our insulin levels and increasing inflammation very quickly. Also processed foods, crackers, chips, and pretzels. Saturated fats, as we talked about, animal products such as meat and dairy are very high in saturated fat, including cheese. The processed meat I'll talk about a little bit more later, but we're talking about hot dogs, bologna, sausages, and I'm just thinking now about you know, I don't remember what year it was, but the year that Subway came out with those commercials to lose weight. The guy who would eat a Subway every day. And I don't recall what actual Subway he was eating, but I know that there is a lot of processed meat going on there as an option. So processed meat is a prime culprit for causing inflammation. Trans fat. Also, those are your Crisco. I don't know if you recall those big tubs of Crisco. They are also used in many restaurants because they give you this flavor. They cook fast, but they're not good for you. Alcohol as well is pro-inflammatory. Refined carbs, like we talked about, any of the white rices, white flours, white pasta. Desserts, cookies, candies, cake, ice cream, and sugary beverages. So now let's get into what are some of the anti-inflammatory, and I'm seeing your questions there. I'm really excited about these questions, and we're going to get to them. Anti-inflammatory, so most vegetables, fruit, high-fat fruits. Yes, it is okay to eat fat, but we're going to talk about the good fat to eat. So avocados and olives, healthy fats such as olive oil, fatty fish, nuts, dark chocolate. Yes, I'm going to go back to that. You can eat good quality dark chocolate. It is good for you. Spices, tea, red wine, up to 5 ounces per day for women, 10 ounces per day for men. So it looks like we actually have a lot we can eat. Now, the question is, do you want to eat your medicine or do you want to swallow a pill? And, you know, there is something to be said about food as medicine. So food really provides a lot of the nutrients that we need to maintain our bodies. So we will go into the different types of food next, along with also what they're providing for you. So the goal is really, you know, we were talking about what diet is the best, and the shift really is to whole foods. What are whole foods? Now, whole foods is shifting from eating processed foods, meaning that there is a process going on where all the nutrients are being taken out. So with white bread, what happens is it is stripped from all the nutrients that you need. White rice is stripped from the nutrients. So it's not really providing as much nutrients as you can get. So whole foods are as close to their natural state as you can find, meaning that they're unprocessed or without a label or without a barcode. So the easiest way to find what a whole food is, you go into a grocery store, and any grocery store, if it's got a barcode label on it, it is unlikely to be a whole food. If there's no barcode labels, you're pretty safe eating it. Why do we want to eat whole foods? They are more nutrient dense, meaning they have a higher ratio of vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients to calories. And these phytonutrients help to reduce inflammation. So if I had to pick a diet that I would recommend for this group, for sarcoidosis patients, if we once again think back at what's happening in sarcoidosis, is an inflammatory process. So I would choose the anti-inflammatory diet as the big header. So if you wanted to learn something, I would choose that. And now, what is the anti-inflammatory diet composed of? It's composed of 40 to 50% of healthy carbs, which are low glycemic, less refined, and less processed. Now, I've introduced the word low glycemic there. What that means is that they do not make your blood sugar jump as fast. They're carbs that have a combination of maybe fiber with them, and that way they won't make that insulin spike. It also includes 30% good fats and unsaturated fats, and then 20% protein, sourced mostly from vegetable protein, including beans, but then also fish protein. And your inflammatory foods, you really want to limit to 1 serving a day. So the main inflammatory foods are dairy, gluten, soy, peanuts, and corn products. And if you think about meat, and you think about, for example, beef, cows are fed corn mostly to plump them up. So if you're eating a burger, you're actually eating corn as well, which is, you know, this double inflammatory process. And inflammation, you know, these foods are going to cause an immune response, and that's what we don't want to do. We do not want to have an immune response. The anti-inflammatory diet is a pyramid. So when you look at the bottom of the pyramid, this is where we want to center our intake is towards the bottom. We're looking at vegetables, so we want to eat 4 to 5 vegetables a day. Fruits, maybe 3 or 4 a day. I would love for you to put in how many fruits or vegetables you have eaten today. You can put that in the Q&A, or you can put it in wave a hand. Tell me if you have eaten any fruits or vegetables today. Let me know. Then after the fruits and vegetables, a main component is the whole, okay, we've got some raised hands. I'm glad somebody's eating some fruits and vegetables. Wonderful. Teresa, tell me how many fruits and vegetables did you eat today? Or tell me what you ate today. Yeah, we're getting some good questions over here, and we're going to get to these. The whole and cracked grains, the pastas, the beans and legumes, and then the healthy fats. So we are going to break down this pyramid, and I'm going to go over some prime things that you can take out of this anti-inflammatory pyramid and literally start eating tomorrow to decrease inflammation. So let's get started with vegetables. When we talk about vegetables, there are so many vegetables we can eat. What you want to do is you really want to get 4 to 5 cooked vegetables or raw vegetables a day. The more variety, the better. The more colors, the better. The reason for that is because each of these vegetables does something different. You know, you really want to have a nice combination of different dark leafy greens. Each of them has different vitamins and minerals and things in them. So I know people who will just eat kale all week long because they think they're doing the right thing. But really what I want to advise you is to increase the biodiversity of the vegetables you eat. So, you know, sometimes maybe eat some kale. If you're making a salad, put in both kale and maybe spinach. If you like arugula, throw in some arugula. In fact, I would just throw all of this into one bowl and eat it. And that's going to be your best meal ever because you are picking up, you know, different nutrients from all these different vegetables. You're going to get the carotenoids from the carrots, you know, you're going to get things from the beets that are great to increase blood flow to your muscles. Let's just talk about broccoli for a minute. You know, this little mini tree. This is definitely a power food. And if you don't like broccoli, there is a solution for that. You can eat broccoli sprouts, which are not as, have a little bit lighter taste to it, but really contain these ingredients and phytonutrients and they're called sulforaphane, which actually are great to prevent against breast cancer. So then we move on to the fruits. We do have a definite variety of fruits. The ones that obviously are highly recommended are any of the berries. The berries are very high in nutrients and they're also lower calories. They are great as a snack food because, you know, you can eat a cup full of berries and you feel like you've been snacking. You also are gaining fiber here. A lot of these foods have fiber. So rather than having a glass of orange juice in the morning, you are much better off having the actual orange because that orange juice glass is going to actually spike your insulin, cause inflammation, as opposed to if you ate the orange because the fiber slows down that spike. And then also an apple a day we know keeps the doctor away. So I don't know how many people are eating their apple a day. I used to have one colleague who would eat an apple every day for lunch. Actually, that was his lunch. That's all he ate for lunch. And I think he's a healthy 70 now. So it works. Now, I knew I was going to get some questions on the nightshade. So I prepared this for you because last time as we've talked, nightshades is a question for people because there has been some information in the past that has talked about how they might cause inflammation. There is a compound in them called alkaloids, and this is a nitrogen containing substance, which is in nightshades. And some experts believe that these could possibly contribute to leaky gut. And when your gut gets leaky, then it can cause inflammation to go out from the gut into the rest of the body. So the thing about nightshades is the evidence is very limited, and the research, it really needs to be studied more. So the way I would recommend you to think about nightshades is to take one nightshade and really see how it reacts in your body before you eliminate it. And the reason I say that is because all of these foods that we're looking at here actually have a lot more health benefits than you would think. Tomatoes, very good source of vitamin A and C. They also contain lycopene. They are a high source of lycopene. And they actually can lower the risk of some severe chronic diseases, and they can lower inflammation. So the question is, does it really work in your body? Cooked tomatoes even actually have more lycopene in them. So doing a good combination of eating both maybe raw tomatoes in a salad and cooked tomatoes in a tomato sauce. If you don't want to do tomatoes, you can alternate to get that vitamin C by adding citrus fruits, but there are some benefits to it. And just because you're allergic to, or you think you're allergic to one nightshade, you might not be to another. So you might want to try it. I mean, if you are eating potatoes, it is highly, and you're eating French fries, it is highly unlikely that you are having a problem with these. But with everything, you have to try it. You have to see how your body feels. I do want to say that peppers also, these peppers over here contain a high amount of vitamin C. And vitamin C is also helpful for absorbing iron. Eggplants are a good source of dietary fiber. And eating, you can have regular bowel movements with that, and it can also reduce your risk of heart disease. Potatoes contain a fair amount of potassium, vitamin B6, and manganese. So I would say for the most part, there's more nutrients and benefits in the nightshades, and many people are actually encouraged to eat them. But if you do have a sensitivity, then of course don't eat them. But I would say try them individually at first and for maybe a week and see how your body feels. Now we go on to the whole grains and cracked grains because we do need to get some grains in there. So what are the high players? Like what are the good ones that we really want to get in there? So oatmeal, brown rice, whole wheat bread, and anything that's unrefined tends to be higher in fiber, and this will help with inflammation. So steel cut oats. So over here we have steel cut oats. These are a little bit thicker than your usual oatmeal. So if you're going and buying those sugary Quaker oat packets that you stick in the microwave and you pour water on, you're once again still increasing inflammation. So something you can do is, and this is great to do in the fall, I love to do this in the winter, is make a batch of steel cut oats for the week. You can make it in a pot. I would even suggest adding some flax seeds or hemp seeds to it. And then put it into your container and have 5 servings of this steel cut oats for the week. Top it off with some berries, some maybe almond slivers, and you've got a great meal there for breakfast. And this will keep you full for your morning. Also, other foods, you might want to include buckwheat seeds. Surprisingly, buckwheat is actually gluten-free, even though it has the word wheat in it. But buckwheats are really good because they're nutrient dense. They're packed with magnesium, copper, phosphorus, iron, B vitamins, and fiber. So that's a really good gluten-free grain to actually have. Bulgur wheat is another good one that it's usually seen in Middle Eastern cuisine. We see it sometimes if you go to a Middle Eastern restaurant, you get tabbouleh. It's prepared very similar to the way you prepare rice, but the texture is maybe a little bit different. And it is also packed with magnesium. So for some of you who have a little bit challenge with sleeping, magnesium really helps with that. So any of these foods that are high in magnesium, rather than, popping a pill to fall asleep, consider adding them to your dinner. Also quinoa. Quinoa is one of my favorites. Quinoa is a whole protein, which, when we were talking earlier back about all the amino acids, this has all 9 amino acids. So this is a great one to have. And then you have your brown rice and your whole wheat pasta over, as opposed to your white rice. So that's a good choice. And I'm just looking at the time and I want to make sure that I give you guys enough time to get your questions answered. So let me move along here because I still have some more things I want to show you. So beans and legumes, we have black beans, we have kidney beans, we have lentil beans, we have peas. These are all really good sources of both protein and foods for the anti-inflammatory diet. you have many choices here, because not only that, but they provide you fiber and they also provide you protein. So this is a great source for that. Whole soy foods. Do not be afraid to eat soy. You know, and I would say this as eat real soy or whole soy foods, not your soy hot dogs, not your soy chicken nuggets. I'm talking about edamame, tempeh, GMO-free tofu, and soy milk. And the reason I highly recommend eating soy for many people is that soy intake in studies has been shown to lower the circulating levels of inflammatory markers. And we're talking about the interleukin-6, tumor necrosis factor, all these things that cause inflammation in the inflammatory cascade. So the pivotal cytokines, it actually in studies was shown to lower these levels. It also helps to improve heart health by removing saponins from the body. These are products that are removed with the bile acids, which we want to remove from our body as an excretory process. They're also really good for bone health. It's a good source of calcium. And you know, as a breast cancer specialist, I recommend soy to my breast cancer patients because it actually decreases your risk of breast cancer. And with 1 in 8 women having breast cancer, this is a great, easy food to add to decrease your risk. Healthy fats. So now let's get into the fats. Not all fat is bad, but we do want to eat the right kind of fat. So here we've got some avocados are a great choice, olives, olive oil, and then of course the seeds and nuts. We want to stay away from the pro-inflammatory fats, and those are the ones that, you know, are saturated, trans fats, artificial preservatives, pesticides. And the reason is because they cause oxidative stress, they cause increased free radicals, and then they cause chronic inflammatory conditions and increased immune response. So sources, as we see here in these pictures, you can also do chia seeds, walnuts, seaweed, hemp seeds, flaxseed, edamame, kidney beans, Brussels sprouts, all sources of healthy fats. And they also have omega-3s, the healthy fats. The ones we want are omega-3 rich as opposed to omega-6. The SAD diet, or the standard American diet, is high in omega-6 pro-inflammatory fat, whereas the anti-inflammatory, or these foods, are higher in omega-3. So we really want omega-3s. And omega-3s are good if you to lower your blood pressure. It's also good to lower triglycerides. They slow the development of plaques in your body. They're important for brain function and for cognitive health. So as we age, this is really important that we're eating omega-3s to help prevent cognitive decline. And then it comes to fish and seafood. So what are the big players for, if you're going to choose to eat fish, we want the fish that are high in omega-3s. These include salmon, tuna, sardines, and mackerel. But the key point here is you really only need to eat 2 servings of fish a week, okay? And that's a total of 6 to 8 ounces. So when you think of eating meat, or you think of eating fish, think of them now more as condiments as opposed to your main meal. So when you're putting your plate together, your majority of your plate, I would say half of it should be, if you divide a plate, half of it should be your vegetables, a quarter of it would be your grains, and then that little last quarter would be your fish or your meat, or maybe your fat, something like that. But really you should be filling your plate up more with the vegetables. Another thing I want to mention as a beverage choice is tea. We need to start drinking a little bit more tea. There are so many different kinds of tea available. You have black tea, green tea, peppermint tea. Tea is just full of flavonoids that help reduce inflammation. So If you are somebody who likes to have something that's flavored, you know, just making a tea is a great choice. You can make it into an iced tea minus the sugar. There's some really great teas on the market now because they've included other dried fruits, have really good flavor in them that you won't need the sugar. And green tea specifically has a chemical in it known as epigallocatone 3-gallate. You don't need to know the name of it, but basically this suppresses inflammation and it blocks the pro-inflammatory pathways to guard your heart and ultimately prevent against cardiovascular disease. It also prevents against breast cancer once again, and any other inflammatory process, which we know all our chronic diseases start with an inflammatory process. So adding green tea to your day is a great way to start something that's really easy. And then let's see, now healthy herbs and spices. Let's talk about these because this is the way I recommend you add flavor to your food. Garlic, as we know up here, it contains sulfur compounds, and that is rich in vitamin C, B6, manganese, and garlic can actually boost the immune system. So the little garlic pods over here, if you want to throw them into your pasta sauce, or you want to throw them into your whatever, maybe you're making asparagus and you make you flavor them with some garlic, that would be wonderful. Ginger also is really important. It has really high anti-inflammatory effects. It can help fight infections. So if you're somebody who gets, a lot of infections, you might want to consider adding ginger to your diet. It's also good for chronic indigestion. So for you individuals who, might have a little bit of reflux going on, adding ginger to your food, or maybe even making a fresh ginger tea from the actual ginger would be great. Turmeric, I know everybody has heard about turmeric by now, that yellow powder you see, but I wanted to show you a picture of it over here. That's what it actually looks like. This is a very, very powerful anti-inflammatory. And what it does is it contains curcuminoids. And this actually matches the anti-inflammatory effect of some drugs. That's how powerful it is, that it can go head to head with some of the anti-inflammatory drugs. And what it does is it blocks NF-κB, which plays a role in chronic diseases and fights inflammation at the molecular level. It's a potent antioxidant. It can neutralize the free radicals, and it also boosts something called brain-derived neurotropic factor. And this was associated with improved brain function and lowering the risk of brain disease and even improving memory. So I'm going to show you a little bit later how you can add turmeric to your day, but and then cinnamon. Cinnamon is also another underrated thing that we should just be pouring cinnamon on everything. This contains a high amount of polyphenol antioxidants, very potent anti-inflammatory effects. Rather than adding sugar to your tea and coffee, consider putting a little bit of cinnamon powder over it. Instead of adding sugar to your desserts, maybe put some cinnamon on it. One of the easiest recipes that I have seen, because I don't even think I can call it a recipe, is literally taking slices of oranges and sprinkling a little bit of cinnamon on there. That's actually something they do in Morocco, and I will tell you, it tastes delicious. So really adding herbs and spices, cilantro, another good one, that can help reduce inflammation by suppressing the free radical production. And then we don't want to forget about our healthy sweets. So when I mentioned dark chocolate, it's okay to eat dark chocolate once in a while, but how much do you eat? You eat 1 to 2 ounces. So that is essentially one little square. It's a powerful source of antioxidants. It raises HDL. It protects against LDL, fights free radicals, and it plays a role in cancer prevention. some of the ones you might want to consider that you're familiar with is like Ghirardelli at 92%, or maybe Lindt at 90 or 99%, extra dark. You can also make desserts from healthier foods. In the top right here, I have a chocolate avocado mousse made, meaning that I've added, some chocolate to it, some cocoa powder, and made it creamy by adding a good fat. That's avocado. In the lower right is what I call an energy ball that I have made with literally taking any power ingredient. I think I have another picture of that coming up to show you what actually went in it. But making something just as simple as this, as opposed to buying your granola bars, will save you in those sugars, those fats, and all those unnecessary ingredients. So the question is, what is in my kitchen? I ran over before I started this presentation. I'm like, let me take a picture of my fridge. It's not looking the best, but I am going to share it with you. It's mostly composed of fruits and vegetables, and in the top is a bunch of different nuts that I throw onto, maybe a salad, whatever I'm cooking. But it's all the colors, of the rainbow, and just eating a big healthy variety. When I make a salad, this is some greens actually from my garden, where I like to incorporate as many greens as possible, because then I know I'm not missing out on any of the micronutrients. And then one of the other things I was mentioning earlier is microgreens. Microgreens is another powerhouse food. You just, there's just so many nutrients in there that you can use it, on top of your soups, put it inside a sandwich, and you're really going to get quite a bit of nutrients. Now, coming back to that turmeric that I was talking about, what I love to do is I make this, I make turmeric ice cubes, and it's a combination of lemon, turmeric, black pepper, because black pepper actually enhances the effect of turmeric, and water. And I freeze these ice cubes, and every day in my water bottle I just throw a couple of these in, and by the end of the week I've had such a great dose of anti-inflammatory compounds. Super easy to do, takes less than 5 minutes to prepare, and you're good. So I wanted to show you that cooking and eating at home is really not that difficult. These are 4 dishes that I have produced in less than 30 minutes. So the top is the ingredient, the bottom is what it became. So on the left, I've made a quinoa, and this is actually from a full of anti-inflammatory ingredients specifically, because we've got the beans, we've got the tomatoes, we've got the walnuts there, good olive oil, and then quinoa is a complete protein, and just really made a nice quinoa pilaf there and served it with some oven baked tofu. The second one is my ingredients for the energy balls, if you wanted to try and make those, which is basically, some oats, some almond butter, a bunch of nuts and seeds, as many as I could put in there, rolled in coconut flakes. The third one over is a really good Ayurvedic dish. It's called khichdi, and this is really a nice cleansing dish. It's a combination of using some lentils, some quinoa, some rice. I added some cabbage in here, and all of this was cooked in one pot. And actually this one took 12 minutes to make. That's how long the pot cooked. So super quick, easy ways to make food. On the right is a mushroom quinoa burger with some, healthy olive oil. Mushrooms are also another superfood, very healthy for you. Full of stress relieving properties. So really it shouldn't be that difficult once you know what you can eat, how to combine foods. We just have a few minutes left here, so I'm going to skip over these because I want to make sure we get to your questions, but there is something to know about that. You can get a lot of your food is going to contain all these different vitamins, and this will be available for you. You can see it. But really the purpose of food is to provide you with nutrients. So when you're looking at the food, think about what is it actually giving me? You know, what's this spinach doing for me? What's this, you know, pepperoni pizza doing for me? What exactly is it doing to help my cells and my body function better? You have those fat soluble vitamins that I was talking about, vitamin A, D, E, K. The major minerals to be concerned about are calcium, chloride, magnesium, potassium, sodium. And let me go back to those. And you can get them all, you know, all of these from different combinations of fruits and vegetables. And then the trace minerals, we do not want to forget about those: chromium, copper, fluoride, iodine, iron, manganese, selenium. These are all, and zinc, and these are so important because these minerals and vitamins, these are all necessary in different cellular processes of our body to make our cells really work. I mean, I don't want to take you back to, you know, organic chemistry, but they're really necessary at different steps. So you can't just eat one food. You really want to eat a combination of different foods because all of them is going to provide a different mineral or vitamin. I do want to mention the Environmental Working Group's guide for shopping when you're considering food, you know, and pesticides in your food. Every year they put out which foods are high in pesticides, and those are the ones you want to, if you buy them, really try and get organic because pesticides can increase inflammation in the body. So this year, these are the top foods that you want to make sure you, if you decide to eat them, you purchase them organically. Now, I do realize that organic food costs more than others, so maybe you choose not to eat those. But then we go with the clean 15, where that way you can, you know, save your money there. Avocados, you don't need to buy organic. They are clean. Pineapple, sweet peas. So there's certain foods that you don't have to worry about as much. They don't have as high a pesticide count, especially if you're worried about, you know, that this anti-inflammatory diet is going to cost you more. In the long run, it actually doesn't. And then, you know, pick superfoods. What exactly are superfoods? And well, the truth of the matter, there is no such thing as a superfood. This was a term that was coined really for marketing to influence trends and sell products. But many foods can be described as superfoods. So really it's the real foods, the dark leafy greens, the berries, the green tea, even eggs, legumes, nuts and seeds, fermented foods, olive oil, ginger, as we spoke about, turmeric, avocado, sweet potato, mushrooms, and seaweed. And then lastly, what are my top tips? Eat the rainbow. As many vegetables and fruits with different colors. You know, one thing you can do to get an idea of what colors and what you're doing is, you know, check them off, make a list, see if you're eating your purple fruits and vegetables, see if you're eating, you know, maybe you're only eating red stuff. You really want to get different colors in there because all of them contain different phytonutrients, different compounds in there that are going to help you. Choose good carbs over no carbs, meaning choose those low glycemic, you know, whole grain carbs that we talked about. Also choose foods with healthy fats, limit the saturated fats, avoid trans fats at all costs. Eat seasonally. So when you buy your produce, also the best food is the one that is in season because it hasn't had to travel as far to get to you. And then also sometimes we might live in an area where we don't actually have access to some of these fresh produce. And I will tell you that eating frozen vegetables, they are picked at their ripeness. So that is really a good way of keeping some, frozen broccoli, frozen string beans, frozen cauliflower. Even they have great combinations of frozen mushrooms you can keep in your freezer. Also canned foods, canned beans is a good way of having available foods. Whole grains, once again. Eat fiber, drink water and tea. Prepare food at home as much as possible because you are going to have less salt, oil, and sugar, and all those fats that we don't want to have, those omega-6. Limit sugar, be mindful when you're eating. Pay attention to how your food tastes. Pay attention to when you're preparing it. And then be grateful. One of the things, I don't know if everyone still does this, but really, sitting down and being thankful for the food you have in front of you, and taking a moment to realize that that food is going to nourish you is, an important part of the an actual entire digestion process. And so then thank you so much. I can't wait to see what your questions are. I wanted to make sure we had enough time to get to them. You can find me at my website, www.drbenotte.com, or on social media at Dr. Benott. Also, I have a book coming out in October, and I wanted to share it with you because in the front of the book, this picture right here is a picture of sarcoidosis. And the reason we put that picture in there is with the next generation of doctors coming up, it is really important for, doctors to be aware of this disease that really affects so many people and how we can help. So, I really felt it was important that we really put it front and center here. So thank you.
Dr. Bernard, I have a question for you. How do we get a copy of your book?
Well, this book is available on Amazon for pre-sale right now. So you can get it on Amazon. The book actually is meant for medical students or for doctors, but there definitely is a chapter on sarcoidosis in there if you would like to read about it. It is in there. So right now it's on pre-order in Amazon. I believe it's going to be released in late October.
Fantastic. That's very, very exciting. Thank you very much for the information that you shared. I was taking notes, as many of our attendees, and I just wanted everybody to know that we're going to be sending out an email tomorrow with a recording of the entire presentation this evening. So if you didn't get a chance to take down any notes, or you didn't get a chance to copy as much of the material as you would like, we're going to provide that for you tomorrow via email. So if I could, I'd love to see if I can get through some of these questions. Let's start with the first one. Is intermittent fasting a good idea?
Yeah, so intermittent fasting really depends on the individual and what other health issues they might have. For sarcoidosis patients, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't want to intermittent fast. Now, intermittent fast is a very broad term because some people can consider doing a 14-8 fast, meaning that they only eat during an 8-hour time window. So maybe they eat only from 12 o'clock to 8 o'clock. I will tell you, I personally intermittent fast because there has been a lot of health benefits associated with it. Some people do alternate day intermittent fasting. So it really depends on what other health issues you have and what your body is actually capable of doing, and possibly what medications you're on, and the timing of the day of the medications. So
fantastic. Next question, I think is a really good one. What are some healthy snacks that you can get on the go? This particular attendee tends to grab packaged foods because it needs to happen quickly, and it's hard to find things that are healthy and filling. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, so the healthy snacks, so definitely I have suggestions for that. Now, it is definitely easier to grab a bag of chips at the gas station or at your office from the vending machine and stuff like that. But, you know, those foods have that combination of salt, oil, and sugar in there that makes you actually want to eat more. So, and it doesn't provide you any nutrients. So the foods that I would recommend is really carrying some fruits around with you. I eat a lot of oranges, apples, bananas, really having access to fruit, and then nuts and seeds. Having, you know, you can now buy those individual packets of just almonds, individual packets of cashews, sunflower seeds. Lots of nuts and seeds is a good way, but with them, you definitely want to be careful of calories and portion control. So actually getting those in those pre-packed is good. And also be careful of ones that have been prepared in salt and oil.
Okay, fantastic. Wendy actually asked, where can she get a copy of the map of the anti-inflammatory picture that you had in your presentation?
Yeah, we can send that out tomorrow. That anti-inflammatory map is part of the anti-inflammatory diet that is promoted by Dr. Andrew Weil at the Andrew Weil Integrative Medicine Center, where I have trained. So I am happy to provide that to you with the follow-up email that's going to come. I'm sure it's available on the internet, but we can get that to you.
Okay, fantastic. Are there any spices or dressings you recommend for vegetables?
Yeah, spices. I mean, it really depends on your palate, what kind of spices you like. You know, just roasting some vegetables in olive oil and just putting on different things. It really depends on what type of dish palette you're going for. I mean, if you're going to go for Indian food, so of course you're going to add cumin and turmeric and those spices. If you're going for maybe, you know, a Mexican dish, spices really can add a lot of flavor, and I recommend just going and stocking up on all different types of spices and trying out different combinations. And then once you have your combination, make it even easier and put that 4 or 5 different spices into one bottle. So all you got to do is sprinkle it on and you don't have to try and recreate that. So that's another good way of just having those spices quickly available, especially when we're busy.
Oh, very well. So next question comes, and it's really asking more information about brown rice. This attendee loves rice and read that brown rice contained arsenic instead of white rice. Should she be concerned about eating brown rice?
Yeah, no, this is true, and this is a very valid concern. So thank you for bringing that up. That's a great question. Yes, some brown rice does contain arsenic, but just with everything, it matters. Like, is brown rice your breakfast, lunch, and dinner? That's probably not going to be healthy for you overall anyway. Eating, you know, brown rice a couple times a week, you're not going to actually build up as much arsenic level. Mixing it up with other grains such as quinoa, or doing a half and half of brown rice and quinoa is a good combination, really. So I wouldn't worry too much about it unless it's literally your 3 meals a day.
Okay, fantastic. Let me see if I can get to the next one.
Wow, so many questions here.
Yeah, I was trying to get to a really good one. So what about food sensitivity tests? Are there any that tell which foods cause inflammation?
Yeah. So there are a number of sensitivity tests on the market, and you can do them and you will come back with a list of, you know, you're sensitive to 20 of these, yet you've been eating them your whole life, and you didn't find that they gave you a problem, but then the ones that they say you're not sensitive to, you find you're getting a headache or you're getting indigestion. So the validity and how accurate they are is questionable. So what I would say is the best thing to do is really keep a food diary and really pay attention to how your body feels after you eat the food. Meaning, if you ate a cookie, I know somebody who will eat a chocolate chip cookie every afternoon at 3 o'clock, and at 3:30 they tell me they have a headache. Well, you know, there's something in that cookie they shouldn't be eating. So just really being familiar with how your body reacts, you know, not necessarily digestive issues, but other things like, do your joints maybe feel a little bit more stiff? Do you have a headache? Do you feel more fatigued? Pay attention to how the food makes you feel is really the best way to see, because our bodies are so individual and how we metabolize our foods are so individual that you have to test it out yourself would be the best way.
I think that's good advice. Very good advice. Listen to your body. So next question from Alyssa is, how important is it to avoid caffeine? She only asked because you brought up chocolate.
So caffeine is not all that bad. Now, you kind of want to depend on what time of the day you're having caffeine. So really, you don't want to have caffeine after, say, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The reason is because it can take up to 12 hours, depending on the individual, for our body to actually metabolize that. So then you might be, you know, if you have a 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock latte, you might be up at 12 o'clock going, you know, I can't fall asleep, because your body hasn't metabolized that caffeine. So if you're going to have your coffee, have it in the morning. If you're going to have your piece of chocolate, have it with lunch or as an early snack, because the body needs time to actually process that and move it out. And as I've mentioned before in my previous talk, but I will mention again, sleep is the most important part of your healing process. Besides this, the food you put in and the exercise you do, sleep is when your body is actually healing, when it's regenerating, when your cells are going around and taking care of everything and removing all the bad stuff from your body. So if you're not sleeping well, you're not healing well. So you really want to make sure that you set yourself up for great sleep every night. So having the caffeine in the mornings, not having it after 2 o'clock is a good way to do that.
Very good. Okay, I'm going to need your help on this one. This is a question from Barbara. Barbara has hypothyroidism and takes a medication called levothyroxine.
Yeah, okay. I see, Barbara, I see your question.
Yeah.
So Barbara is questioning, she has hypothyroidism. She is on levothyroxine, usually Synthroid, which is very common for people to be on. And they have been told that they should watch their soy because it interferes with the absorption of medicine. So she's asking, if she eats soy, when can she eat it? Oh, well, hold on. I lost her question. So I want to make sure I get her exact question.
Uh-oh, I think hold on for a minute.
No, hold on. We clicked it as answered. Let me find her again.
I got
Barbara.
you. There it is.
Okay, Barbara, I found you. All right. So should she eat soy? If so, when should she eat it? Spacing at a time from her medication. So I would say soy probably, there is more benefits in eating soy, but definitely since you have hypothyroidism, you might not want to eat as much of it. You know, eating one soy product a day and spacing it out. I'm not sure about the timing. I would honestly have to check for you on that. but spacing it out where maybe you're eating one soy product a day, and that's real soy. So we're talking edamame, we're talking tofu, we're talking not the soy hot dogs or the soy chicken nuggets, we're talking real soy, because we do want to get those benefits of preventing breast cancer. I mean, it decreases your risk 30%, and that's significant. And then it has so many other health benefits. So I would say just eat a little bit less of it. And then also monitor your, I'm sure your doctor is taking a check of how your level of your thyroid hormones is while you're on the medication. So if you see that, you know, this is fluctuating, you might find that you need less medication over some time. When you're on thyroid medication, you're not necessarily meant to stay on the same dosage all the time, especially if you start adjusting your diet. You know, I've seen people actually get off their thyroid medication once they start adjusting their diet. So it's something to continually monitor if you're going to make adjustments. I hope that was helpful, Barbara.
That was very good. Thank you very much. Why don't we see if we can squeeze in 2 more questions? We appreciate your time. Let me see if I can just get, Wendy wants to know, should she stay away from milk?
Yeah, so milk, there's definitely some controversial information out there. And so the ads from the 80s, milk does your body good, we're beginning to see is not necessarily true. I mean, milk and dairy products like cheese are really high in saturated fat, and we know saturated fat is pro-inflammatory. Personally, I am plant-based. I have chosen to stay away from dairy. It doesn't, you know, do anything for me. The studies are a little bit all over the place. I would say if you don't need it and you have some good dairy substitutes that you like to use, do it. It's not really going to add anything. It'll probably take something away. Your body doesn't actually need dairy. You can get all the nutrients from so many other foods.
Awesome. And
I should say, yeah, there's an increased risk of heart disease and cancer from eating dairy products. So yeah, I would stay away from it.
Okay. And our last question, are there certain foods that you can eat to get off medications?
It depends what medications you're on, really. It depends what, you know, if we're talking about some of the sarcoid medications, what dosage you're on, what your body is actually doing. I would definitely consult with your doctor, and, you know, as you adjust your diet and you start, you know, feeling changes in your body, you might find that the doctor might lower these dosages, and really have that conversation with your doctor that you're doing this, you're feeling better, is, you know, can we consider decreasing, you know, a dose of this? What is this going to do in the long run? And really have that conversation with them.
Fantastic. Dr. Bhanote, thank you very much for spending time with us this evening. We're greatly appreciative of you sharing the amount of information and making an impact in our attendees' lives and answering a lot of their questions and providing the material that is going to allow them to kind of eat healthier, eat better, be more aware, be more mindful as they either prepare foods for themselves, or they go out and shop, or they go out and eat and everything. I took down a lot of quality notes, and just want to say thank you from the Life and Breath Foundation for again joining us. I'd also like to let everyone know we have another upcoming speaker series event on October the 8th at 7 p.m. Our guest speaker will be Dr. Richard Harris from the Great Health and Wellness. He'll be talking to you about vitamins and supplements. So very interesting topic, one that we think is going to be beneficial for you. Also, I would like to update you on an upcoming Life and Breath virtual 5K run, 1K walk We turned one of our fundraisers into a virtual event. It's going to be coming up October the 10th through the 24th. In the chat is the information and website that you can go to receive further information. Love for all of you to come out, attend, make an impact in raising awareness for sarcoidosis, and we'd love to see you again. But again, Dr. Benott, I want to say thank you to you. Thank you for the attendees for allowing us to do this for you. And we look forward to seeing you again very soon. But thank you very much from the Life and Breath Foundation.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I really enjoyed it. Have a great night, everybody.
Have a good evening. Thank you.